Here is a look at today's math assignment. So yesterday you had to go onto the Jamboard, look at the frog jumping data, and formulate or make a question based on that data. Some of the questions were awesome, most of them were. So thank you for taking the time to think of a question based on that data and post it on the Jamboard. For today, the learning target is, I understand I will find different ways to represent math ideas using words, numbers, and symbols, diagrams, and different kinds of tables. I can create questions related to data presented, which is what you did yesterday. I can answer questions related to data on a histogram, which is what you're going to do today. And I can explain why the questions generated match the idea. So for the second slide here, all it is looking at all of that data. So this is the exact chart that was on our Jamboard yesterday. We have the frog name in the first column, the jump length in inches, and then the year in the third. So now we're going to use that data and you're going to answer some questions. So it is in a graph, a histogram, just like we talked about last week. Different ways of presenting data can tell you different things. For example, some of your questions might have been easy to answer with an organized table of data. However, other questions can be easier to answer if the data is arranged in a different way, such as in a histogram like the one shown below. Look carefully at the graph and use it to answer the questions below. So this is our graph right here, our histogram. If you remember, it looks like a bar graph, but it's not. On the bottom, on the x-axis, the numbers are arranged into bins. So like the first one is 180 to 190 inches. The next one is 190 to 200. And then on the y-axis is the number of frogs that jumped that length. So for example, in the first bin, 180 to 190 inches, only one frog. If we drag the cursor over to the left, only one frog jumped within that length. But if we look at 220 to 230, which is our highest one, there were 8 frogs that jumped within that bin. So the jump length or inches are on the bottom and the number of frogs are on the left side. So A, between which two numbers on the graph did the most frogs jump? That's where you look for the highest bar. Okay, look for the frequency is the highest. You did really well with that last week. For B, typical frogs jump between what two jump lengths? So if you're looking at jump lengths, where did the most frogs jump? Okay. C, were there any unusually long or short jumps? The higher the inches number is, the longer that jump is going to be. So for example, there is a short jump. 180 would be very short because you see most of the frogs were jumping further than that. And then there's also a long one on there too. How many frogs are represented on this histogram? So we know that there's one frog between 180 and 90. We know there are 2 between 210 and 20. There are 8 between 220 and 230. There are 4 between 230 and 240. And there is 1 between 250 and 260. So you would have to add up those numbers. And E, half the frogs jumped less than how many inches? So you have to find where the half mark would be and see how many inches those frogs jumped. Okay, and that is your assignment for today. So you have to fill out that third slide.